Hello there, this is a setup video for the Creasemaster air feed table, the new style table which was introduced in late to mid 2008. This table is center registered as our previous table was, but it's racked. It's racked so that the op and the non-op side stay square between changeovers. Very easy, quick, and easy to change over. But what we want to talk about is setup as it relates to skew, squareness, changing over, and feeding difficult stocks. So first thing I do when I set up the feed table is there is a scale on the table that you can use to set the square for your sheet. I do use the cutout in the table. Get a good square sheet of paper, larger 8.5, 11, or 11/17 may be better, but I have a nice square piece of 8.5, 11. So I'm going to hold it tight to the operator side rail with both of my skews, operator and non-operator, loose. Hold it tight to the side rail, take it in the cutout here where there's these two nylon spacers, and square the sheet, square the table to the sheet. And again, if your sheet isn't square, then your side rails won't be square. Now that I have this square from this side, just like using a T-square, to the lead edge to the side, I'm going to lock down my operator side. Then I'm going to bring it up into underneath the vacuum belt and bring my non-operator side up to the sheet so that it's nice and square along here. So nice and square. It stays square as we go down, or if not. And another thing we can do is put two sheets so that we have one in the back, one in the front. Again, this side is locked in, the back side is loose. I have it square to the front, to the back, lock my back side in place. Now my skew is set to be square. So if I change over from sizes, right now I'm running 8.5 wide, and lock it down with my locking set screw here in nylon block, so that for longer runs the side guides won't start to spread. But so now that my side guides are straight, changing over from size to size is really easy. That's it. Going from 8.5, 11 to 8.5 wide to 11 wide. So we don't have to, unless somebody moves our skew, or we actually need to skew off square, we don't have to change. Don't have to change that skew. So what I found in the field is that people, when they're changing over sizes, were re-skewing the machine or loosening these every time to move the table. That creates a lot of work between jobs. So that's how I square a feed table. Okay, now that we've squared our table, our side guides, we're going to work on our sheet separation and feeding without doubles. We're running right now a 10-point coated cover weight, which is a very easy weight and type of paper and size to feed. So we're going to start with something that's simple. And my pump at this time, which we'll get into the settings on our pump afterwards, but my pump settings are set for the vacuum and the air at full at this time. So what I'm going to do is open the cover. This gap here, our gap set, really, I've got it set right now for probably as many as 3, 4 sheets. Okay, I could lower that. I really don't have to, because really this stopper is more holding my stock square in the feeder. There is a setting that I can increase or decrease the depth, the position in which my stopper is to my pickup holes. Heavier stock, I want this closer to the output to pick up my sheet later from the lead. Lighter weight stocks, you can block those holes a little bit. Straight up at 90 degrees to the cutout of the inside of the manifold is probably our best setting. So again, not that critical for maybe more difficult stocks. So first thing I'm going to do, turn my pump on, feed one sheet in about that far, a couple inches, 3-4 inches. Then my air knives. My air knives, what they do, there's a misunderstanding out there that these air knives are for sheet separation. Try to lift the bottom of the pile or separate the bottom 3 or 4 sheets from the like sheet 2, 3, and 4 from the bottom of the first sheet that's going to feed. Really, what they do is you need to position those knives so that they're aiming at the second sheet that may want to travel with the first sheet, either through suction through the bottom sheet or through friction, like vellum stocks, cougars, anything with a texture. Uncoated stocks have a tendency to pull themselves in. The second sheet will get drug in through friction mechanically from the first sheet. So what we're going to do is, this second sheet, I want to aim these air knives so my second sheet that's trailing on my feeding sheet gets pushed back into the pile. You can see it did it right away as soon as I turned the pump on. So when I force feed those sheets through, I want to aim these air knives in a way so they're about 3/4 of an inch back from the lead edge of the pile. You can see that sheet, those sheets, or even if I push 2 or 3 sheets back in the pile underneath the stopper, it'll push right back in its place. Wait your turn to go through the pile. So essentially that's how our air knives work. Now, one thing we should back up, as far as we talked about the air on full on our pump, but also on our air feed table here, these restrictors or valves on the back of the air feed table, this is where the supply comes for each air knife. These valves should be set at 1 o'clock, not at 3, not at 12, at 1 o'clock. That gives us the best velocity of air going through those air knives. We're actually restricting the air a little bit to give it a stronger velocity coming out through our nozzle. So that's where these should be set. On our air feed table, these locking, or these gates should be turned down. So what I'm doing is opening the drawbridge inside of these cutouts for our side air. That is what separates our bottom sheets and lifts the pile, not so much the air knives. So the side air is what does lift the pile, so that those bottom 2 and 3 sheets, and the first sheet can go through, and the second and third are lifting and waiting. Now, where you don't have any paper, you should be backing off these gates. So there is no air coming out here, and it's all being focused on wherever we have paper. So that's all part of getting good air separation. And then again, these air knives are really they're holdbacks in air knives. So that's the portion for setting up air knives and gap and side air for your air feed table for your Graphic Wizard Greasemaster Plus or Platinum. Okay, now we're going to talk about feeding difficult stocks, bonds, lightweight bond. I have a 20-pound bond in my feeder here now. Uncoated papers, offsets, uncoated cover weights, anything with any porosity where the vacuum will suck through more than one sheet. So on our Becker pump, our vacuum, this is our air, provides to the air knives and the side air table, and to the this is for the vacuum for the pull wheel for the manifold. So for lighter weight sheets, again, we just did cover weights and card stocks. I can keep both of them on full. For lightweight sheets, 20-pound bond, 24 pounds, 60-pound offset, I'm going to turn the vacuum back to the point where it almost comes off of my hand. So it would be approximately 3 turns, but I'm going to bring it back so that it's back almost all the way. So we're going to really back off our vacuum. If we're at a point where it won't even pull a sheet, that there's not enough vacuum, that's fine. Then we can come back and add more vacuum. But we're really going to back off our vacuum. This also gives more separation for our air as well, the way that this pump works. So in here I have some 8.5, 11, 20-pound bond. I'll do the same thing. And again, remember I haven't adjusted my stopper. I'm going to leave the same gap where I had 3 or 4 sheets of 10-point cover. Okay, so now I've got my sheets in. I'm going to feed one sheet through. And again, I'll check now my air knives. I'm going to push a couple sheets in through with my bottom sheet. Pushed right back into the pile, and I have the knives positioned in the correct area. There we go. So with that, with the vacuum turned down and the sheet separation, with our air knives, we should be able to achieve very good separation. We can also back up our stoppers so that we're blocking some of the air, the vacuum from coming through the manifold. So we're just catching on the lead edge of the sheet for lightweight papers, and we'll run some. That's how we run 20-pound bond and other difficult lightweight stocks. If you have any questions, call Graphic Wizard, 1-800-265-3376, and we'll put you in touch with your local dealer if you don't already know who they are, or contact us at graphicwizard.com. Thanks for your time.